Welcome to rpgamepire. I'm David. Thank you for joining me in this how to play video of Jaws. If you haven't had a chance yet, please check out our review video and playthrough. In Jaws, it recreates the famous movie from the 1970s, directed by Steven Spielberg, where you're either going to play the crew or the shark. So if you're the crew, up to 3 people can be the crew. You could be Hooper. Well, I'll show you right here. You could be Brody, Quint, or Hooper. And if you're playing with less players, one person can be all 3, or 2 people can be share the roles, where one person might be 2 of them and one person might be 1 of them. And then one player will be the shark. And so the board game recreates the movie. The first act is that you're going to be on Amity Island trying to protect swimmers from the shark. And then either you attach 2 barrels to the shark, which you'll see right here, 2 barrels to the shark, or the shark will have eaten 9 swimmers. Either way, if either condition is met, then you will turn this board over and you'll see what pieces will be added. So I'll zoom out here. You'll play the other Act 2, where you'll be on the ship with the crew trying to defeat the shark. So when it comes to setup, you need the barrels, this side of Act 1, the swimmers, the Amity event deck, the shark. You're playing this side of the shark card, not this side. This will be used on Act 2. The shark tracker, because this is a hidden movement game, a deduction game. You'll have 4 shark powers, your shark mover, or meeple. The players, the crew, will play this side of their card, not the Act 2 side where they have to worry about wounds. Crew do not take wounds in this Act 1 of the game. So you're going to play this side. You'll see Brody is this meeple. You see Quint on his ship, Hooper on his ship. Quint will start with 2 barrels, and Hooper will start with a fish finder. So that's for Act 1 right here. But for Act 2, you're not going to use the dice or these letters here, which will show where the shark can resurface. So you're not going to play with the resurface cards or the shark ability or the ship tiles. You will not need the crew gear yet, Hooper gear, Quint gear, Brody gear, or the wound trackers, or their target pieces where they're used to decide where they're going to do melee and range attacks. So anyways, so this stuff up here is not going to be used. So you see already I've set up the barrels here. Brody will start on the Amity PD. Now in the rules, it states that he'll start in the mayor's office, so that's a mistake. So I'm going to zoom in now. You'll put the swimmers off to the side here. Quint will start at dock 8. Hooper will start at the dock in space 5. So you'll see you have your directions here: north, south, west, east. So those are spaces. You also have numbers 1 through 8 around the board that are also spaces. And then you'll have different beaches: North Beach, East Beach, South Beach, and West Beach. And then you have the mayor's office and the Amity PD. So you see this is where the crew is placed. The shark will start out with its 4 powers. You'll shuffle the Amity deck. You need something to write with. So for the object of the first act, it's like I mentioned, the crew either have to attach 2 barrels to the shark, to Jaws, or Jaws will eat 9 swimmers. And so depending on how many swimmers are eaten by the shark, we'll decide how many ability cards Jaws will get in Act 2 and how many crew gear, extra crew gear, the crew will get in Act 2. So this is an important act to determine who will have the advantage in Act 2. The more swimmers Jaws eats, the more powers or abilities a shark will get. The less swimmers Jaws eats, the more crew gear, the more weapons they can use to try to defeat Jaws. So once it's set up, again, you decide who's going to play what crew. This is a 2 to 4 player game. So, but you definitely need one person to be the shark, and whether or not you have 2, 3, or 4 players, you'll divide up the crew with amongst the other players. So the first thing you'll do is flip up the Amity event card, and this will determine where swimmers go. And well, actually, before I do that, I have to decide as Jaws where Jaws is going to start. And so you're going to record it right here. And you'll do this secretly before you draw the first card. So Jaws can start in any one of these 8 numbers or any of the directions, either north, south, west, or east. Now he may want to, or she, I don't know if Jaws is female or male. Let's say it's a she. She probably won't want to start near Quint because Quint has barrels that can be attached to Jaws. So, and you notice here, these zones are further out to sea. So it would be easier for Jaws to travel around on the edges and then go into the inside to get swimmers, because that's where swimmers are going to appear on the beaches around the island. Keep in mind that neither the crew nor Jaws can go diagonally. So if Jaws was right here, for instance, you normally would not see Jaws right here. But if Jaws was right there, could not go diagonally into 8. And neither could Quint. Quint would have to go here, then here. All right, so let's figure out where Jaws is going to start. So I'm going to start near a beach, just in case any swimmers are revealed there through the Amity event deck. So I'll put in for North Beach, the start location. And you'll see that in other games here. I'll just show you real quick, because we've played this several times now. I've started in different places. So in this game, I started in 6. So actually, I'll show you on here. One game I started over here, near North Beach. One time I started in the South Beach, over here. And then I did it again a second time. So I guess I liked starting on the South Beach. All right, so we reveal the event. So let me show you where that is in the rulebook real quick here, where I'm looking at the turn sequence for Act 1. It's on page 3. And so it's event phase, shark phase, crew phase. And this is the shark phase, is when I'll write down where Jaws will be going, where she'll be going. So let's reveal the first card. So you'll see, okay, now this is a special one. You'll put a swimmer in, well, first off, you read it Michael Brody's birthday, just like in the movie. You'll place a swimmer in the North Beach, the South Beach, and 2 in the East Beach. So let's do that first. So 1 in the North. And you just grab them randomly. It doesn't matter which ones you grab here. They're just aesthetically different. And then now we've got to read the description here, because there's a special event here for Michael Brody, the sheriff's son. So place Michael at the open beach with the fewest swimmers. He counts as 2 swimmers if eaten. Only Chief Brody can rescue him. And then there's a little bit of flavor text here. The ponds for old ladies. So in other words, remember, if you remember from the movie, he was put into the area which the sheriff thought was safer. All right, so let's see, where is that at? Okay, there's nobody here on the West Beach, so he'll go right here. Oh, it says here, with the fewest swimmers, open beach. Well, there has to be swimmers there. So it's a tie, so we can decide where to put him. Let's put him on the South Beach so that his dad is closer to rescue him. All right, so now the shark will decide how to move here. Now the shark gets 3 actions, as it says right here. Moving in one space is one action, and eating one swimmer is another action. And one thing you got to realize is that the shark has special powers. And so you can select one of these on a turn, and if you use it, you cannot use it again on a future turn. So this power says right here, feeding frenzy. For one action, the shark may eat all swimmers at a beach. So for instance, if I were to move, I started out in north. If I move into here, that's one action. And again, you do this secretly. I'm just going to show on the board. If I started here on the North Beach, I can go 1, 2, and then if I had chosen Feeding Frenzy, I can eat these 2 swimmers. Okay, so another power you get is Speed Burst. So Speed Burst, once this round, the shark may move up to 3 spaces with 1 move action. So again, it matters what order. So if I, again, started here, I could use that Speed Burst and go 1, 2, 3, move again, and then eat Brody's son. And that would count as 2 swimmers. I could go 1 space here, eat 1 swimmer, and then move 3 away, so that way the crew won't be able to find out where I am. Now, keep in mind, I'm showing you where I'm going on the board. You're not going to do that for the players. I'm just showing you here so you can keep track of where I'm going. The only time this is going to come up is when a barrel is attached to Jaws, or Hooper places his fish finder into the same space as Jaws, which I'll explain in a moment. But right now I'm still going over powers. So another power is out of sight. The shark is invisible to Hooper's fish finder, which I'll explain in a moment, and Brody's binoculars. Again, another power which I'll explain in a moment. So it doesn't matter if Hooper doesn't use his fish finder and Brody doesn't use his binoculars. If I select this, it's gone no matter if they use it or not. I could also select evasive moves. So when barrels are placed into the ocean and Jaws is not in that space, they become motion detectors. So anytime I move into that space, I have to tell the crew I've moved into, so let's say there's a barrel here. Remember, I'm starting in the north space. And let's say this is the second or third turn and there's a barrel here. If I move through 6, I have to say to the crew, I tripped the motion sensor in 6. I don't have to say if I was already there or where I went after that. I just have to say I tripped it during my turn. So it becomes a little easier for the crew to try to determine what I did. So anyways, the evasive power, at one time I could use this, and I will not trip sensors this turn. So, as the shark, again, I'm going to look at the board here. I have 3 actions. I'm over here. I don't tell the crew that I'm over here. Do I want to use a power? I'm going to use a power just so I can show you how it works. I'm going to use this power, Feeding Frenzy, but I do not tell the crew which power I'm using. I just say I've used a power. So how do I mark that? Well, first off, I know I'm going to use it. So I'm going to circle FF for Feeding Frenzy, meaning that I cannot use it again. And these would normally be upside down. Okay? And I would put it over here to remind myself that I've used it. And then since I started in the north, I got to figure out, and there's a little nice little map here, but it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. So if I go 1 move here, 2nd move here, 3rd action, I'm going to use Feeding Frenzy and eat both of these. Okay, so I'm going to end up in the East Beach. So then what I do is I mark out that I ate 2 swimmers on the East Beach because the Feeding Frenzy allowed me to do that. In other words, for one action, I could eat as many swimmers as I want in that space. And then I mark here where I ended up to remind myself. So if you can't see that, I'm moving from North Beach, right up here, 1 action to move into 6, second action to move into East. Using my Feeding Frenzy, I can eat those 2 swimmers, and I marked it right there. So I know that I'm at least going to move up 2 swimmers and I'll end up in the same space where I ate them. All right, so that is I've selected my movement. So now let's talk about the crew's turn. So each crew has certain powers. You got to pay attention to it. So I'll talk a little bit about that on their cards. Again, this is just for Act 1. It will change for Act 2. So Quint is the one that gets to launch barrels from his boat. Every time he moves on his boat, it's one space. He can also go rescue a swimmer in his space for one action. He can pick up any number of barrels from the water. So let's say he doesn't want to keep a barrel in the water. He can pick it up and then relaunch it. He can also pick it up at the dock, which Brody might be bringing from the shop to place on the dock, which I'll explain in a moment. And then he also can pick up barrels from Hooper's boat if they're in the same space. So Hooper can also get barrels from the dock and pick them up from the ocean and then hand them off to Quint. Now, once per round, this is very important to remember this, because even though he starts out with 2 barrels, he just can't launch one and then another. Excuse me. So he can launch a barrel into the space he's in or adjacent space, keeping in mind that diagonals do not count. All right, so that's Quint. Now Hooper is going to be able to drop this fish finder, but he can move up to 2 spaces per action, rescue a swimmer. So everybody can do that. Now Hooper and Quint are on boats. Brody can only do it when he's on a beach. He doesn't go into the ocean in Act 1. So he could also pick up any or all barrels on the dock or in the ocean. He can give all barrels to Quint, and he can use the fish finder once per round. So he cannot use the fish finder, move, and then use it again. I'll explain how that works in a moment. So Brody can also move 1 space on the island. He can rescue a swimmer on the beach. He can pick up a barrel at the shop, and then he can also drop off a barrel at the dock. Notice that's 1 action each. He can use his binoculars if he's on a beach to try to spot Jaws in that beach water zone. He could also close a beach if there's no swimmers there from the mayor's office or the Amity PD. So let's model that a little bit here. All right, so I just explained all their actions. Let's carry them out a little bit here. So Hooper, so right now the shark says, I've eaten 2 swimmers at the East Beach. So now the crew's thinking, okay, and the Jaws would also say, so let me back up here. Jaws just did hidden movement, recorded it, you saw me do that. Now Jaws tells the crew what she did. So Jaws would say, I ate 2 swimmers at the East Beach and I used a special power. So the crew would be thinking, all right, did she use feeding frenzy, or did she use the speed burst to do that? No, or perhaps Jaws is going to try to evade by using out of sight or the evasive moves. So they don't know which power Jaws used because Jaws doesn't have to say it. But we do know that Jaws has eaten 2 swimmers. So Jaws would mark that out right here, like that, and marked off 2 swimmers. Now the crew has to decide who's going to move. And they can change this from turn to turn. But keep in mind that once one of the crew starts moving, they must complete all of his actions before the next crew member goes. So for instance, you cannot move Brody 2 spaces, then Quint moves 1 space, or does 1 action, I should say, and then back to Brody again. No, when you activate a crew member, that crew member must decide how many actions to use. Now you don't have to use all the actions, but usually you will. So Hooper is going to try to use his fish finder. Now he has enough actions. Now he can move 2 spaces per action, but he's going to go here first, 1 action, rescue a swimmer for a 2nd action. 3rd action, he's going to go right here. So he'll go 1, 2. 4th action, he's going to drop the fish finder. Okay, so the fish finder is dropped in Hooper's space. So if Jaws is there, the JAWS player must reveal it. But JAWS is not. You know that JAWS is right here in the east, but the crew doesn't know that. But the fish finder will help locate JAWS, even if she's not in the same space. So any space that's adjacent to the fish finder, so notice that 4 right here is adjacent. 8 is not, that's diagonal. East Beach is adjacent. 6 is adjacent, and so is 1. So this is a good spot to drop it because I can cover all these zones. So what does JAWS say? Because if JAWS is adjacent to the fish finder, JAWS must say, I'm nearby. So this is an important rule to remember. Where the space that the fish finder is dropped in, and Hooper has to be in the same space with the fish finder. You can't drop it adjacently. So Hooper drops it in the space that he occupies. And if JAWS is in that space, JAWS is revealed. If JAWS is adjacent, not counting diagonals, JAWS must say, I'm nearby. So because I'm in the East Beach, I'm nearby. So now, again, remember Hooper went here, rescued a swimmer, went here. Is that a diagonal space? It's hard to see that. Well, it doesn't matter because I can move 2 spaces. So 1 space, pick up swimmer, so that's 2 actions. 1, 2, third action, drop the fish finder, 4th action. I say I'm nearby. Now Quint is going, okay, I can launch a barrel into 2 different spaces here because JAWS can be over here, 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 or here. So Quint is going to take a guess and launch a barrel into this space. And JAWS would say, nope, not there. So Quint missed. Cannot launch a second barrel. So again, that's another rule to remember. You can only launch 1 barrel a turn. Otherwise, it'd be really easy to find JAWS. All right, so Quint still has 3 more actions. We'll go 1 more action here, rescue this swimmer for a 3rd action, and a 4th action, go back to the dock in case he needs to pick up more barrels. Now, he can't rescue Brody's son here because only the Sheriff Brody can. But at least I've rescued 1. All right, so Brody wants to go rescue his son. So he's going to go here. That's 1 action. 2nd action, rescues his son. 3rd action, let's see here. Cannot be in this space. Okay, I'll go here. 3rd action here, and then uses binoculars. And so now JAWS would have to say, are you in this space? And JAWS say, no, I'm not here. But if I was in 6, I would reveal myself. Okay? And really, to think of, I should have had Brody do this before Quint moved. But that's the way it goes. Sometimes you don't do things in the best order. Now, something else that he could have done instead of doing his binocular action, and he'll get his binocular action back. He can do this every turn if he wants. He could have instead, after he rescued his son, still went to the mayor's office or the police department and then closed the beach. Now, you can close the beach where there's no swimmers. So there's no swimmers anywhere. So let's say he did that instead and closed the South Beach. Actually, nothing came up in the West Beach, so he's going to put it here. So it says beach closed. So now, when the next event is revealed that places a swimmer into the West Beach, the swimmers won't be placed, then it would be turned over, opening soon, which means that when swimmers are placed again, this disappears. So basically, it prevents swimmers from being placed 1 time. Now, let's say the beach is closed and no swimmers are placed in West. It doesn't. Brody can still, either at the mayor's office or the PD, still move the beach closed to somewhere else if no swimmers are coming up there and he thinks swimmers are going to come up somewhere else. So as long as there's no swimmers on that beach already, he can place it on any beach where there's no swimmers. So I'll say he did it there. All right, so That's the first turn. I'll do just another shark movement here just to show you what would happen. All right, so I'm on the east beach. I'm right under their noses here. They know I'm nearby though. So I'm not going to use a power. I'm going to save my powers. Oh, I forgot. It's easy to forget these things. I have to do the next event. Okay, the 4th of July. Before placing swimmers upon all beaches, beaches cannot be closed this round. So that means Brody cannot use his special power this round. So just placing 1 on each beach, and the flavor text would be down there if I wanted to read that right now, but for the sake of time I won't. Okay, so I can't place the swimmer here on west. So that means that this becomes opening soon. So north, south, and east. And this one did not get placed. So again, this helped for 1 round. All right, so knowing that I am right here, the crew doesn't know I'm right there. Oh, by the way, this is picked up by Hooper. This stays in the ocean unless Hooper or Quint picks it up. So now I'm going to move. I'm going to eat that swimmer first because I'm already there. That's one action. And then I'm going to move to the north beach. So I'd mark down north. And if you can't see that, I ate a swimmer in the east beach and I moved to the north beach. And I did not use any powers. So what I would say is, okay, I ate another swimmer at the east beach and I did not use any powers and I did not trip any barrels. So now this crew know I didn't go this way. They know that somehow I ate this guy again, or ate a swimmer in the same space again. And I go up to 3. And then they don't know where I ended up. They know I didn't go this way and I ate somebody here. And so the crew would do their actions and try to attach a barrel. Say Brody wanted to go pick up a barrel. He'd go here 1, 2, pick it up, 3, 4, drop it off. Hooper could even go pick this one up. So you keep on going back and forth until either Jaws eats 9 swimmers or 2 barrels are attached. It doesn't matter if 1 barrel is attached to Jaws. She can still do all the things she wants to do. It's only when the second barrel is attached that the act immediately ends. All right, so that's Act 1. Let's take a look now at Act 2. So you place these movers off to the side here. Don't need the swimmers anymore or the barrels. Don't need the ships. Do not need the Amity event cards. Those go away. Or the Jaws powers. You still need the mover. Okay. You turn this over. Let's say I got up to 6. So I'd get 7 shark ability cards. So I just take that off of the deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't need this anymore either. So hang on, let me make sure cards didn't stick together. Okay, so there's my 7 shark cards. Here's my mover. I do not use the rest of them. Back to here, I turn it over. And so the board represents what the ship will look like as Jaws chomps into it. Okay, let me just zoom out just a little bit. All right. Okay, so the ship is in pristine condition at the beginning of Act 2, but that won't last for long. So you place the tiles here. The white number indicates how many hits Jaws needs to get with the dice to damage it. And if it's damaged, it gets turned over. And you see how it doesn't look so in mint condition anymore. And the black number indicates the number of hits that are needed to totally destroy the piece. So if I did 3 hits over here, if you can't see that, if I do 3 hits right here, the piece is totally removed. And if there was any crew in that space, it'd be in the ocean. And I'll show you what happens when they get in the ocean. But the point is, Jaws is going to win this act if the ship is totally destroyed or if all the crew is eaten. So once a ship is in place, the crew can decide where they want to go randomly. You know, not randomly, they get to choose. The resurface cards will go right here. These resurface locations, well, you can just put them right here for now. And then Jaws will get these because she's going to pick one of these each turn. Okay? But still not done setting up yet. Over here, we don't need any of the barrels or the binoculars or the closed beach or the fish finder. Instead, we turn over each card. This represents how many wounds each player can take. So a player can take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wounds before they die. Each crew member, I should say. So you slide that on here. And then each crew member is going to get their starting equipment, similar to what they have in the movie. So Quint, for instance, is going to get a flare and a machete. Now you notice this symbol right here. This is a melee attack weapon. This is an attached weapon. It can be attached to Jaws. And I'll explain how those works in a moment. Brody is going to get a baseball bat and a pistol. Hooper is going to get a hammer and a rifle. Now you notice this is a ranged weapon because of this symbol here. If it's that, so ranged weapons only have one use unless you have ammo. So you may remember that Jaws ate 6 swimmers in my example. Jaws got 7 shark abilities. The crew gets 6 crew cards. So you deal 6 crew cards and you divvy them up amongst the players. By the way, on the back of Jaws, I need to put it on the 0 here, and Jaws can take 18 wounds before she dies. So you look at the crew cards and you divvy them up because it's important that when you assign them that you understand who they can't be traded. So for instance, if I give a whole bunch of stuff to Quint and he dies and he has a bunch of stuff he hasn't used yet, then they're lost to sea. So the ammo you want to give to those with melee weapons. So that way, when they fire the rifle or the pistol one time, they use the ammo and they don't lose their gun. So basically, the rifle will have 2 shots and the pistol will have 2 shots. And so let's give the chum to Quint, the hook to Hooper, fishing net, and the tranq spear. Actually, movie-wise, tranq spear would be Hooper and the hook would be Quint. It really doesn't matter. I mean, they all get 2 moves and 1 attack. So you'll see here are their targeting tokens. Quint gets a targeting token, Hooper and Brody. So I'll explain what you do with those in a moment. All right, so the board is set up. Let's take a look at the phases of Act 2. Again, the object of Act 2 is that Jaws needs to destroy the boat or kill all 3 crew members, or the crew wins if they destroy Jaws, basically do 18 wounds. So let's take a look at the turn sequence. Okay, resurface options. So first thing we do is reveal 3 resurface cards. These are the 3 options that Jaws has. Let me move this up a little bit. Where Jaws can go. So to help remind players, A is right here because that's the A spot. B is over here in that corner of the ship. I don't know if it's the stern or the bow. I guess I don't remember my ship terms. So I kind of fail at that. And C will be right here. Let me just zoom out just a little bit more. Okay, a little bit better. Now, what is the anatomy of this card here? So this card, C, if Jaws selects the spot, Jaws will get to roll 3 dice and have 1 evade. Now this is just flavor text. B, he'll have 2 evade. He can evade 2 hits, and he'll have only 1 die to hit with. A, Jaws will have 1 evade and roll 2 dice in that zone. So the zones have been revealed. I say the resurface areas. Now Jaws has to choose which one of those zones secretly, A, B, or C, and can choose a shark ability card. So let me show you some of these shark. Now, Jaws doesn't have to choose a shark ability, but it may be advantageous to do that. So for instance, one of these cards says, if the shark damages or destroys a boat space, all crew members anywhere on the boat fall into the water space in their zone. That means off to the edge. Now why is that bad? Because if they fall into the water, and if Jaws appeared here in A, and I successfully damaged that, and Quint was here, he'd fall off, Brody would fall off here, and Hooper would fall off into the water there. I always will get a free attack into an adjacent water zone if there's a crew in the water. That card would cause them to fall into the water. Now normally crew gets 2 moves, but to go from the water onto a ship space costs all movement. When they're in the water, they can swim 2 spaces, but that would be dangerous to be outside the boat. In addition, being in the water does not prevent you from using your weapon, so keep that in mind as well. All right, so let's take a look at the other cards that you can play. Big Mouth. If the shark damages or destroys a boat space, each crew member on that boat space takes 1 wound. So I'm going to do that one. And there's other ones that you can look at. Extra strength, domino effect, maul again. See, and there's some duplicates. So here's another making waves. So I'm going to, again, I would do this in secret. I don't even have to select a card, but I'm going to. And I want to go to A. Okay, so I'm going to put that there, and the other 2 are upside down off to the side. So the crew doesn't know which one I selected. So I've chosen. So I've done this part of the phase. I've chosen which resurface zone I'm going into and a shark ability card. Now the crew prepares. The crew can move up to 2 spaces and then choose weapons and place target tokens. So melee, you have to be adjacent to the water space, and diagonals don't count. So for instance, Quint can stay here and target C. He cannot target A because diagonals wouldn't count. Hooper is going to go 2 spaces and target A. Brody is going to stay here and target B with a pistol. He doesn't have to fire it if Jaws doesn't surface there. He's just basically saying, I'm going to target this space using a ranged weapon. So ranged weapons allow you to target any space on the boat. I mean, in the play area here, there's no blocking of line of sight or anything like that. So he's going to do that. Whereas Hooper's saying, I'm going to use a melee attack here. He could use a range attack here, but likely he's going to save that and do a melee attack, and Quint's going to do a melee attack. So that is... So part of the crew prepares is that they can also play special cards. So they're going to, looking at the chum here, Quint's going to play this first. And what it says is, after the shark locks in their resurfaced token, you may play chum. The shark player must reveal one of the resurfaced tokens they did not choose. After choosing chum, discard it. So we're going to play chum, and we may decide what we're going to do, change what we're going to do. So the shark says, all right, I'm not going to B. So chum is removed. We know that Jaws is not going to B. So then Quint's thinking, Brody's thinking, again, I did this out of order. I should have played that card first. So B is not going to happen. So he's going to target this space with his gun. All right. So now the shark reveals. So that is the 4th action. I'm sorry, 4th step in the sequence. So I place I reveal A, because that's what I selected, and my shark ability. So the crew knows that I'm going to do this. If the shark damages or destroys a boat space, each crew member on that boat space takes 1 wound. So the crew knows I've played that ability. So now I place Jaws here in A. C goes away. Brody and Quint won't get to do anything because I didn't even go to C. So these only Hooper will get to attack. So A is happening for sure. Oops. This is the one that goes away. So A is happening. So what happens next, though? So I revealed where I surfaced. By the way, this attachment means here that if I came up into a zone that has this symbol, that's where I can get rid of things that are attached to me as Jaws. So what does that mean? Well, certain objects get attached. So if during an attack, Quint attacks Jaws with the flare, while attached at the end of each round, the shark must roll 1 die and take that many wounds. So this is if I come up in resurface in an area with that detach symbol or attach symbol, then I can get rid of the flare. And is there any others here? Yeah, there's a fishing net that also will be attached. So the crew now gets to attack. Hooper could use any one of his weapons in that spot. He could use his rifle, his hammer, his tranq spear, or ammo. Well, because Jaws gets 1 evade, he's going to try to do the most damage here. Let's do the tranq spear. If your attack wounds the shark rolls only one die when attacking this round. After attacking with the tranq spear, discard it. So I want to make Jaws only do 1 die to attack, because I know that if Jaws damages a section, we're all going to take a wound. So I definitely want to use a tranq spear. So Hooper is going to roll 3 dice, because that's what that symbol means here, a die for each symbol. And he did 5 wounds. So that was a really good roll. So this gets discarded. Over here, again, this is Hooper attacking with the tranq spear. And then Jaws takes 5 wounds. And that's the crew, that ends the crew's turn. Now the shark attacks. So the shark goes last. Now, because Jaws got hit with the tranq spear, he's only going to get 1 die. And for me to damage this area, I have to get at least 1 hit, because there's a white 1. And I did. So it's unfortunate I didn't get a 3. See, if I would have been rolling 2 dice, I might have been able to destroy it, and then Hooper would have got knocked in the water. But instead, it was damaged. And the good thing is, based on Big Mouth, each crew member on that boat space takes 1 wound. So I did cause 1 damage to Hooper, because I damaged that space. So Hooper shows his damage here, and he's got 1 wound. So that was the end of that turn. And we do the same thing, and we go back and forth until either the boat's destroyed or all the crew are dead, or either Jaws is dead. Now let's say I didn't get tranked, and I rolled the 2 dice, and I did 3 damage. Well, this would be destroyed. Hooper would be in the water. And then at the end of every round, if anybody's in the water adjacent to Jaws, so it means, let's say I did that ability where I knocked people into the water, I could do 1 die against each crew member. So I'd do 1 die against Quint, and so he would take 1 wound, 1 die against Hooper, and he would take 2. So Jaws wants to try to get crew into the water, because if Jaws is in the same space or adjacent, she can do 1 attack against each of them for free. But if we're on their boat, I can't attack them from the water. I have to damage the boat first. So that's Act 2. In Act 2, like I said, it goes back and forth until either the crew is killed, or the boat is destroyed, or Jaws is killed. And eventually, if, depending on how many shark ability cards you have, you might not have enough cards to play if you're playing many rounds. The crew can run out of ranged weapons, so that Brody uses that, or attachments, but they're never going to lose their melee weapons unless they die. So, for instance, if Quint dies, he can lose his machete. Now, this melee weapon has a special thing here, the hook. If the hook breaks, discard. So if you roll 4 or more hits, the shark is still wounded, but the hook breaks. So this is a melee weapon that can get damaged depending on how you use it. But basically, the ones that you start with will stay with the character until they die. The hammer, for instance, okay, again, this is a beginning gear here. When attacking with the hammer, the shark's evade value is 0. So this is a really good melee weapon to use, especially if Jaws has a 2 evade. Baseball bat, if the attack misses, re-roll both dice. The new results are final. So, again, remember the evade here. I don't remember if I went over this. If Quint was attacking in this space and Jaws appeared in that space and was rolling 2 dice, and he gets an automatic hit. So this is what he would roll. 1, 2, 3, automatic hit 4, -2, evade. So Jaws would only have taken 2 hits or 2 wounds. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this how to play. I went into a lot of detail because that's one thing about this game, is that actually it is very easy to learn. It can just be difficult to remember all the details and play it correctly. If you haven't had a chance yet, please check out our review and playthrough where we go through the whole Act 1 and Act 2. And by the way, I'm letting you know this now because some people think that Jaws can't win. This is our 3rd or 4th time playing, and Jaws did win. So if you want to see how I was able to do that, you may want to watch that. So please don't forget to subscribe and like. I'm David, and this is RP Gamepire. Have a good day.